All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Ebony again, aka Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Miss Sarah with us. How are you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for taking time and speaking with us today. You guys, she has an awesome bunch of jewels to share with us, and if you do choose to stick around to the end, I'm going to offer you a complimentary gift as a form of appreciation. So let's stick around and see what Miss Sarah wants to share with us today. So,
Yes.
Sarah, can you start us off so we get to know you a little bit better and just share one motivational quote that really inspires you, something that encourages you and gets you going?
Sure. So it's actually a biblical scripture, which I wrote down here so I don't butcher it. It's Jeremiah 29:11. It states, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." And so just to explain why that's my favorite quote, I would say it's been my favorite quote since about 2013. I've kind of always held on to that scripture, especially recently this past year in 2018. I would say it's been one of the toughest years for me. So that was something that just kind of kept me motivated and kept me going.
Awesome. And repeat it one more time just so that people that are unfamiliar get to hear it again.
Sure. So Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope."
And I think that's awesome for all of us because we sometimes will doubt ourselves. We sometimes fear, feel fearful,
Yes.
and sometimes we don't necessarily want to make steps forward because we're like, well, what if this happens? But on the other side of that is, but what if this happens and everything is awesome? So we have to, kind of sometimes figure our way through life, and it's not always easy. Can you talk a little bit about a challenge situation in your own life where you didn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel? Maybe you did go back and forth, you were doubting, you were fearful, and at the end of the day, you were able to persevere and see that goal or that dream to fruition.
Yes. So kind of going back to how I was saying 2018 was very difficult for me. I was currently living in Los Angeles, California. I was living by myself at the time. I was living with three roommates previously, and then I recently moved by myself. I had a good job. I would say I was foster care social worker, but I had switched agencies at the time, and I realized it was very, very stressful. It was a little bit different than the other one I was used to. I was on call 24/7. So just dealing with parents and children and not really having a really good work life balance, it was really hard to deal with. Eventually, I ended up leaving that agency, and I started pursuing dance more and trying to do little jobs here and there until I kind of figured everything out. And I had this plan and I thought it was going to work out, and it just completely kind of blew up in my face. Um, which was tough for me because I felt really confident about my decision to leave. And then I started questioning, like, well, should I have stayed? But it was really hard. I was getting physically sick almost every week around, I would say, the winter months. And it was just like, okay, my body's just telling me, like, you can't keep doing this. So I realized, it probably was a good decision to leave, but it kind of left me like, okay, God, like, now what? Because now I'm struggling to pay my rent, which also, by the way, was about $1,300 for a studio. So
Yeah,
the struggle
California.
was real. And didn't have any roommates at the time. So it was really difficult just trying to work. I think I was like cleaning houses and doing Lyft, just like random things, which is completely different from, working a white collar job that I was used to.
Right.
So struggling in that area financially, eventually I ended up having to leave, which I really didn't want to do, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. And I just couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel when I was in that situation. I think I asked help from my family maybe twice. And then after that, it was like, okay, I can't keep asking for money. Like, at this point, I just need to either go back or, figure it out. And I was applying to, like, I probably applied to 100 jobs and I just wasn't hearing anything back. And it just felt like all these closed doors. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is God saying, like, I'm not supposed to be here in this season right now. And not to say that I was wrong for leaving that job, but I also need to move on completely somewhere else. So lo and behold, I'm back in Maryland, which is my hometown. But during that time, I was severely in depression. I was having panic attacks. I remember just walking out of the grocery store and having a panic attack and calling my friend. And I'm, on literally the other side of the country from my family and friends. So it was very difficult and lonely. So that was definitely a season for me where I just could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was very difficult.
Yeah, and anytime that you move away, even if you're moving with people, it could be a stressful period because it's a new environment. You have to meet new people, it's new job, new everything, and you're being taken out of your comfort zone that you're used to, your own city. And for you to do that by yourself, it adds an extra layer of stress involved. So I think that a lot of times, though, when we do experience things like that, we realize how much inner strength we actually do have, though, so that the next time that we're faced with a challenge, we say to ourselves, but I was able to get through XYZ, so I can get through this, so it just makes us stronger as we grow. Can you talk a little bit about the support system that you did have, and what can people do when they feel like, I don't have a support system? Because you talked about how in the very beginning, you were at least able to go to family and say, hey, I'm struggling financially. I need a little bit of assistance. Some people don't necessarily have a support system at all. No one that they can ever call. And when we're thinking about living our purpose and putting our gifts out there into the world and serving others, this plays a really big role, because sometimes people feel like, I have this vision in me. I have this dream in me. I've had it since I was 8 years old, but I don't feel like I have anybody to help support me. What are some ways that people can gain support when they feel like they don't have family and friends around them, their immediate family and friends around them, to really help support them?
Yeah. For me specifically, I usually end up finding that I feel like God just ends up bringing people in my life. I remember I had 2 friends who I became friends with during those couple months of that really bad season for me, just kind of out of the blue, and they really helped me get through that time. On top of that, I was also just involving myself in different communities. So I was dancing. So just being around dance family is what they kind of call it, friends in that community, as well as like small groups if people choose to go to church or whatever from a worship they choose to participate in. Finding like a small group that you have some type of connection of identity with, I think can really help. If people are more shy and not willing to get out, and actually, because sometimes people don't like going new places by themselves. I kind of got over that in college. So I love being by myself now, but I know everybody's not like that. So for people who are more extremely introverted, I would suggest finding an online community, maybe to start off with, whether that's an online therapist or an actual, Facebook group or Instagram group, a group me, just to connect with people who are going through like a similar struggle, whether it is mental health or financial assistance. So you can also, because there was advice people gave me as far as financial assistance that I wasn't aware of. And if I would have just tried to do everything by myself, it would have been even worse than what it was. So the community definitely does make a difference. And I would say if you are more introverted, try something online first, and then maybe warm your way up to actually, going out and involving yourself more, as well as I would always say prayer too.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, they're afraid of connecting with others in settings where they're unfamiliar with everybody there.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the recipient isn't looking down at you. If anything, a lot of times people are happy that someone else came to them and spoke to them instead of them having to do it. Yeah. So while we're feeling fearful of, oh, what if I say the wrong thing, and I'm feeling nervous talking to the person, the other person is, on the other hand, welcoming of it, because they're like, oh, well, that means that I don't have to go out of my way to network and communicate with these people. So I think that sometimes just opening up our mouths and just talking and realizing that people as a whole are going to be responsive. Not too many people are going to say, get out of my face, I don't want to talk to you. I mean, if you have somebody do that, then maybe they're just having a bad day, but that doesn't mean that it's something negative towards you. It's just what they're experiencing in that moment. And you mentioned something that is particularly key for introverts and extroverts, and that's to find people online, because in this day and age of social media, there are so many networking groups online. Almost any single struggle or issue that you have, you're going to be able to find a networking group online. And a lot of times, if you just speak up, those people are going to connect with you and have conversations with you, because they wouldn't be in that particular group if they didn't have that similar interest or those similar challenges. So seeking people out online. And then also, if you're not somebody that really wants to communicate with others online, you can use the online space to find local community groups. So there's really no need for you to ever say, I can't find somebody to talk to about my particular issue, and I'm so alone in this world. No, you're never alone in this world. This world of billions of people, you always have people that you can connect with. It's just a matter of, are you willing to step outside your comfort zone and find those people and open up your mouth to talk to them? That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about self-care and how that correlates with us being able to live out our vision? Because a lot of times people feel like, well, I have the support, I have the knowledge, I've known what I want to do since I was 5 years old, 8 years old, but I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't have any time to work on this dream because I take care of my parents, I take care of my children, I take care of myself, I go to school, I go to work. I don't have any time to work on anything that's related to what my vision is. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of self-care, maybe some self-care strategies that you put in place that helped you?
Yeah. I would say, not to be cliche, but I love getting massages. I haven't got one in a long time, actually. But I would say one of those self-care tips would be some form of just like physical connection with another person, whether that's like a group exercise class or a massage or something of that nature, where you feel relaxed and you can actually also connect with somebody else, not in like a weird way or anything like that. I would also say I particularly journal a lot. I keep a journal all the time. I'm constantly buying journals. It just helps me get everything out, and that's my way of kind of like a release, as well as talking. But not everybody is a talker. Some people like their quiet time. I really like my quiet time. So my thing is more so journaling. Obviously physical exercise is a big thing. Even on a chemical level, I've realized how much that can help me. And then just, either talking to a friend or a therapist. I would say those are my personal big threes. I know there's plenty of other self-care gurus and tips out there, but I would say those are like my three main things that I like to do. And retail therapy, if you can throw that in there.
That's amazing that you threw that in there, because for some people that is a form of self-care.
Yeah.
And self-care looks so different for everybody. There are certain things that I do that somebody else will be like, I couldn't care less about that. And there's an other way around. It can range anywhere from you coloring in a coloring book to you looking at all four walls, to you looking at a movie, to you going to the gym for 5 hours a day, to you engaging in retail therapy, to get a massage. It's any and everything that makes you feel alive. And at the end of it, you don't feel stressed that you did that. So it's, one of those things that just seek out what that means for you. And if you can provide yourself with daily or weekly self-care, awesome. When you can't provide yourself with that self-care based off of what's going on in your life, not to also feel guilty about it. Just jump right back on when you're able to. Because sometimes we can feel guilty, like it's all or nothing, But the more that you can provide yourself with self-care, the more you're going to have that feeling of fulfillment in your life. So a lot of times people may say to me, they may say, Ebonie, I'm working this full-time job and this is not really what I want to do. I'm a creative person. This doesn't provide any creativity. And as soon as they get home and they start working on painting their pictures or whatever it is that they do that's creative, they feel that sense of fulfillment for that day. And it only took 15 minutes to feel that. But the more that you can add those moments in your life, the more you're going to have that sense of, I feel good. I feel good about being alive, and I feel like a woman of purpose. So I think that don't beat yourself up when you can't do it. Just look for moments where you can produce as much self-care as possible.
Yes.
All of it adds up. By the end of the year, if you only did 2 days a week, look at what that is compared to zero.
Yeah, Absolutely.
So you always got to look at it from the positive angle. Can you just share any last words of encouragement for anybody that's listening and they're saying, this is awesome. I hear what you're saying, Sarah. I hear this all the time. but I really just feel stuck. I don't know where to get started. How do I get started when I'm just so overwhelmed with school and work? When I come home, I'm exhausted. I know I need to provide myself with self-care, but really, yeah, that might happen once a month.
Yeah.
What are some words of encouragement that you could give to those ladies? And if you felt that you were in that situation or you're in that situation now, can you just provide a couple of words to say that everything is okay?
Yeah. I've definitely been there. I have friends who are there right now. So just like I would tell them, just start with something small. Don't try to feel like you have to get 100% better overnight and feel 100% accomplished. Just start with something small. So whether that's you reading a couple pages of a book before you go to sleep at night, or you listening to a motivational speech or a sermon once a week, or however often you're able to, whether it's you taking a walk rather than thinking you have to go into a high interval training workout and feel great about it every single day at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like, everything isn't for everybody. You don't have to start at the top. It's okay to start at the bottom and, progress at your own pace. You're racing this race against yourself and not other people. And I think a lot of times when we are, at least specifically for me, when I'm feeling down or in a depressed state, it's easy to look at what everybody else is doing right and feeling like you're doing it all wrong. So just don't compare yourself when you're in that space, and just start with something small. And for me, I also like to write down the small things that I did. So at least I can look back either at the end of the week or the end of that month and say, okay, you may still be feeling bad or not at your 100% best, but look at the little steps you took to get to where you want to be, and you can celebrate in that progress.
Yes, and it's so important to understand that we all have our own race and our own path. And sometimes it looks like someone else is doing so much better than what we're doing, but they're just doing better in their path.
Yeah.
We could be doing awesome in our own path if we would just allow ourselves to walk that path. So just taking it in and every day knowing that you're making steps forward. Baby steps are okay. You don't have to achieve everything overnight. It's totally okay. And most people actually don't achieve most things overnight.
Yeah.
It may seem like that because we're highlighting the success,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time that person spent some time and some grit into whatever it is that they achieved. So always take that into consideration, that not everything is just handed to us on a silver platter. I think that if everything was handed to us on a silver platter, we'd probably be bored with life anyway, to be honest.
Yeah.
We complain about our challenges, but I really honestly think I'd be bored if everything was always handed to me and I never had to work for anything,
Yeah.
So just embrace the journey is what I always say. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you. Any of you that are listening, if you're listening to us and you're saying, I would love to learn what my gifts are and what my natural talents are, and I would love to be able to integrate that with my experiences and develop my lifestyle and career into something that feels more whole and fulfilling to me, I would love to be able to collaborate with you and provide you with free resources. I said in the very beginning of this interview that I would provide you with free resources to help you get on your way, because what I found is that a lot of times it's not that people don't want better, it's that they don't know where to get started. So I'm going to provide you with these complimentary resources that you have no excuse not to know what your natural gifts are, what your natural personality type is, and be able to make progress with what you have right now. Not with what the next person has, but what you have within you right now. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. Anybody that's listening, if you want to share your experiences, just as Sarah did today, please feel free to communicate with me and let me know that that's something that you would like to do. There are women all around this world that have gone through very similar circumstances, and they're thinking that they're all alone in their circumstance. So if you want to be able to share your experiences and share your challenges and share your successes to connect with other ladies, feel free to reach out to me. Sarah, all of your contact info is in this description box as well. Can you talk a little bit real quickly before we end about the type of person that you would love to collaborate with?
Oh, that's a very good question. The type of person that I would love to collaborate with, well, first, personality-wise, it would be somebody who, regardless of like their amount of following on social media or financial success or whatever you may call it, is still humble and teachable, kind of like a life learner type of person. Even if they have plenty of advice and tips to offer me. Being able to still be able to accept any advice that I can give them as well, even if I'm not in the same high position as them. That's somebody I would love to work with. Also, I guess in particular, which is like a far reach, I really love Gary Vee. I'm not super fond of his use of language all of the time, but I understand that it's just his thing. And he has a different mentality about it, which I can respect. But I love the way he approaches business. So as somebody who is interested in starting their own businesses, he's definitely somebody who I would love to work with one-on-one.
Awesome. Yeah. I love anybody that has so much passion into what
Yeah.
they do. And he definitely does. So you might not necessarily agree with the way that he does things, but just seeing that passion is like,
Yeah.
wow, he's really about his stuff. And he's really about helping other people. It's not just
Yeah, he
about him
is.
too. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime that anybody steps outside, they're really, really trying to help other people get ahead in life and feel better about their lives. I have total respect for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. And for all of you that are listening, as I said, all of her contact info is in the description box. Feel free to connect with her or I. And if you don't have anybody else in this world that's going to help you, obviously, we're welcoming. So connect with us if you don't have anybody else in this world to help get you to your next level and you're lacking in support. I'm always about helping to support other people in their endeavors, particularly if it's something that's serving others on a big scale where we're able to light a fire in other people's lives. Thank you, Sarah. And everyone that's listening, no matter where you are in the world, always remember to live a life full of meaning and purpose. Share this content out to someone that you believe may need it, and I will connect with you in our next episode. Talk to you soon.